Welcome to Patchwork, a Game Woven production. When we want to follow up on an interesting character or event in the Game Woven world, but don't want to get too distracted from the main storyline, we branch off and post those recordings here. Like Game Woven, each of these sessions takes place in the Game Woven world and further fleshes out the setting through play. We hope you enjoy. In this episode of Patchwork, myself, Anna, that is Sanctum Cosplays, and Rob B. Rolling run a freeform dialogue between Nerrhythma and Preterra. You might remember these characters from our Gods Potluck, and if you don't recall exactly, at the end of her arc, Preterra was stabbed in the back by a god-slaying knife and sent back to the mortal realm where she was trapped forever. Let's catch up to them.
Somewhere in the Game Woven world, there's a saying, if you can't fly better than the birds, stay out of the sky. Birds, when they migrate, know how to stay away from the dangers that lurk in the sky, whether that be predators, areas prone to storms, those big flying castles that shoot them. And there is one area where we are focusing on today, where no bird has flown for a long time. They will fly miles out of their way to avoid this perfectly circular area. In this circular area, the land is devastated. The trees, if they still stand, are at near 90-degree angles from brute force winds, burnt from lightning strikes. The ground is cracked with tremors, earthquakes. There's even a couple geysers. And as if this perfectly circular, devastated piece of land was enough, there are literal signs saying, do not enter. And yet, on this day, as our camera focuses in on this horrible, cursed place, we see a single starling flying directly towards the middle. Anna, what is this starling flying towards? There's, I think, one solitary building in the very center of this. What does it look like?
It's Bog Hut. It is I don't want to say Shrek Swamp, but I do want to say Shrek Swamp amount of Bog Hut that is occurring here. It is just made of all of the dead wood. You can see some of the lightning patterns through the wood when these trees have been struck. It's been just kind of cobbled together. There is no sense of rhyme or reason. There is no sense of really any forethought. It's just enough to be a house, if you think about it. Like, you can go inside, there's technically a door, but it is pretty much bare bones as you could get for a person, a mortal, to live in.
So we're gonna go inside this shack. This technically meets the standards of a dwelling. Describe the person that we see, the individual that we see, and what they're doing on their normal day-to-day.
You see a very tall woman, almost unnaturally tall, though her once beautiful and put together look seems a lot more disheveled. Her very long hair that used to seemingly flow in the wind is now rat's nest and twigs. She has dark circles under her eyes as though she has not actually had a good sleep in months, if not years, if not eons. There is no, furniture inside of this house, or what you could consider furniture. There's, a small bedroll and, enough, to build a campfire and have some, rudimentary pots and pans and things like that. But it is a very basic life. The most basic of basic. She has her bare necessities, and that is it. Kind of pushing herself up from the cot. It's one of those, when you wake up and recognize that today is going to be the exact same day that has always been and will always be. That kind of, I get up, I go to work, I come home, I eat, I go to bed. That kind of existential dread of I have done the same thing over and over again for days on end, and there is no end in sight. The only thing that brings the smallest amount of joy is several journals in which she has written nothing but profanity, cursing the name of the god of ink and paper, and setting it on fire consistently as a small fuck you to the deity who has placed her here in this hellhole that she now currently lives. You can also see as she like gets up to stretch before putting on her same pair of clothes that she has worn since she came down here, a large scar in her back, kind of jutted, jagged. You can see kind of a glint of metal, some kind of like light source through that scar, but there's nothing like physically on the outside that you could like grab and pull out. It is just the remnants of what used to be the dagger.
So, as we see, I imagine the camera over the shoulders as you just start writing the most obscene things like I have to leave it there, otherwise we're not even monetized, we will become unmonetized. We will become monetized just to become unmonetized.
Correct.
So in this it correct me if I'm wrong, it feels almost like a meditation feels too healthy a word for it, but like this like trance of
maladaptive meditation, yes.
Maladaptive meditation.
That's my band name.
It's a good band name.
It's a good band name.
So,
and I think the writing gets burned, and we zoom in on one of the embers float up out of the window, drifting on the breeze, and then we see the starling who has settled, is just sitting on like a pile of dry logs, and the starling picks up a piece of like cotton fluff or like flower fluff in its little beak, and it goes hop, 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 all the way over to the other side of the pile of dry wood, and then just sets the little piece of plant fiber down, and then watches as the ember slowly drifts over. And in the distance, you can just sort of barely hear the starling's call, almost like the voice of a child, and it just says, "Watch this, watch this, watch this, watch this." And the ember settles down gently on the plant fiber, and it smolders for just a moment, and there's a little trail of smoke, and then finally just the slightest red glow, and then the entire glade is engulfed in a towering inferno all at once. The sights and sounds, the smells of smoke, the whole thing erupts in horrible cataclysmic fire.
And the thing is is your character that shocked or surprised by that? Because I don't feel this is not the first time that this glade has lit on fire.
Yes, but usually she was the one lighting the glade on fire, and if she's not the one lighting the glade on fire, there is an amount of concern.
What do you do?
Just a slight amount of concern.
Your entire little pocket here, this whole glade, instantly lights ablaze.
Yeah, which brings me only a slight amount of concern, of course. I think as everything like ignites, there is a moment of just pause, of like I could just sit here. I know I cannot die. Like, I know I cannot be killed. I am stuck on this mortal plane forever. And there's that moment of like, I wonder what it would be like to just let myself be engulfed in flames and just feel the flames. But after a moment, she recognizes, she's like, that's a dumb thought. And gets up, grabs what little things she can. There's a couple of bits and bobs that are sentimental to her that she grabs, and grabs the bedroll as well as quick as she can before just hightailing it as quick as she can make her way out of the hut and into the fire of the glades to try and find an exit.
Real quick, I want to know what, like looking at all of this flame, what's like the feelings it evokes, right? Like, is it purely, this is fire, this is bad? Is there any like appreciation or curiosity? Like is it purely, this is a bad thing, I fear this? Like what is this fire evoking in your heart?
Guilt, recognizing she has done this before to other people, recognizing that this is something that her emotions have inflicted on other people, on mortals who can die, which makes it a lot more concerning. So there's that guilt. There's also a bit of admiration she's a little impressed because it takes a lot to light a whole glade on fire immediately, and she knows that. And then there's a moment of just like a small smirk as she thinks about Tensos, who's going to have to do the paperwork for this before she finds her way out.
And I feel like you start going through and you find a path through the flames, and you probably get a few steps in, and we're sort of like running alongside of you as this starling is like weaving up and down like at your side, just going, watch this, watch this, watch this, in your ear, holding in its mouth like a kind of a flaming stick with some more burning plant fiber along the edge. And that's when the details begin to poke out from this blaze. The first thing that you might notice is that it is utterly heatless and completely non-consumptive. Not a plant is out of place, nor a log charred. There is smoke, but you can breathe. It is the exact same temperature and humidity as you left the glade when you woke up this morning. The fire isn't real, but all around you can see where there's like steam coming up, and there's like little rainbow tendrils like coursing through the steam as the light glints through. And the way the fire licks off of the logs does an interesting curl to it. It's almost like you can see every single piece of like smoky matter creating its own tapestry in the air all around you. There's a surreality to the blaze, a kind of unrealness to it, to match the fact that the fire is completely not real.
I think Preterra would stop running. Once she recognizes the fire is not real, it is not hot, it is not consuming her home, she'd stop running. Recognizing pretty immediately that this is not natural. Being like, I know nature, I know this domain, and that is not that. She's also gonna stop and see if her little friend stops with her.
The starling flies into like the thickest part of the blaze, and then a humanoid shadowy figure begins to emerge from it. A shorter, vaguely feminine featured thing, but as it steps out, it's almost like a humanoid shape of swirling lights that gradually coalesces into something resembling a shifting mirror of Preterra, only about a foot shorter.
Terrifying. Hate
Yeah.
that.
So like the way we've described this character is kind of like you ever see a Scanner Darkly where like there's the rotoscoping is constantly changing over the entities. That's sort of what this person looks like, using your form, using Preterra's form as a base.
That is wildly upsetting. I just want you to know. Like, that is wildly upsetting.
And then in a very excited, childlike, bird-like voice, coming from the mouth of the entity, goes, "Oh my gods, it is you! Oh, and you're so pretty!"
Preterra is like, she has not seen another person, quote unquote, in a while. The only person she sees is when she's summoned back up to the good old god of hedonism for their tea sessions. So it's like, shock is not necessarily the correct word. Confusion maybe is a better one. Disbelief. But also, she's looking at herself. And again, that's unsettling. She's looking at herself made out of light, but shorter. So it's just like that moment where you want to say something and you know you should say something, but there is something that's like in you that's like, don't fucking talk. Don't fucking talk. And that is the exact experience she is having.
The flames wrap around this entity and then form around it, kind of like tattered moth's wings, as the flames completely absorb into the creature. And then as they finish, you are standing in front of a whole individual. They are no longer like, there's still elements of you in there, but you can also tell that other humanoid forms have sort of taken in, and it's constantly shifting. And they look at you and they're like, This is, oh, I've been looking for you all over. What is a gal like you doing in a place like this?
You lit my home on fire.
I didn't. That's the cool part. I can't.
You did. And she's like pointing around and now realizing the flames have stopped. Like, they have coalesced into this being. And it's just like, I thought you did. Who are you?
And she now rushes up and like grabs your cheeks and like
Ah,
pulls your face. Yeah, I know, very uncomfortable. That's just it. I can't. You can though. You could set this whole place on fire again and again and again and again. Couldn't you? Couldn't you? Oh, and she's like patting your face and like on your shoulders. It's very close. It's very uncomfortable and very high energy.
Preterra, like, in the nicest way possible, palms the forehead of this person and gently pushes them back. Like, not really aggressive, like, not well, it's offensive because I'm pushing you back, but like, just like the gentlest, just a palming of the forehead.
No, no, no.
Exactly. Personal space. As she like looks down and is like, I don't know who you think I am. I don't know where you think you are, but I can tell you you are sorely mistaken.
Oh, sweetie. Oh, sweetheart. Oh, pretty lady. Oh, crazy lady. No, 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 no. Oh, you're mistaken. You're the one that's wrong. Oh, dear. I'm the thunder across the valley. I am the millions of diamond eyes on the snow-capped mountain. I give the rainbow its glow, the mirage its allure. I cause the oceans to churn, and I cause the leaves and the leaves behind her shift like how a leaf like moves to like face the light, and I cause the leaves to find the sunshine. Oh, sweetheart, I painted every sunset for you, and now I've followed it to you here. I am Nerrhythma.
But pleasure?
Oh, the pleasure is all mine. Oh, no, 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 no. You don't get this. You don't get this. You are a genius. I'm your biggest fan. You are the most important person in my eternal life. Everything that I do because of you, and I do it for you.
I'm sorry, I think I'm hallucinating from smoke inhalation at this point. And it's just like this very, like, furrowed brow, very confused look. There's part of Preterra that really loves this. Because she has been struggling to find someone who gives a shit about her since her and Tensos were done. So like being admired is like it's hitting. But she does not know what this is about, and she is very off put by one, someone finding her, two, just the energy, and three, what is being said. Because Preterra has lived in her own little world her whole life. She knew herself and the gods she associated with, and she did not give a fuck about anyone else. That she just frankly didn't. So to hear another person who knew of her that was not a mortal that praised her is wild to her because she never once considered there were other gods other than herself and the people she spoke with.
And also a wrinkle, two wrinkles, one good, one bad for you, Preterra. First of all, this is I'm gonna leave this open, but Preterra, we established, didn't really have like worshippers as much as like people being like, please don't fuck me up, like please just forget I exist. And like in this moment, this is, I think, probably the closest Preterra's ever had to someone who is like that kind of praise and adulation. This might be the first time she's ever felt it.
I agree. I think, yeah. People don't tend to be like, hey, could you send a tornado down? Thanks, bro. Not usually a thing people do. So I do think this is the first time she's ever been, like, praised for the amount of chaos she has given into the world.
The other thing is, if I remember, Nerrhythma's form is also also based on like what the other person kind of like wants to see and likes to see. So I think for a moment, there's also moments where you can see some of the other, not Squid, but some of
Absolutely
the
not.
other deities of the Lucent Realm, like features that remind you of them flashing through in this moment of so much.
Still uncomfy.
I had a thought, and I just want to run it by you. I think it's a really good idea, and I think you would like it a lot.
Okay.
Have you ever thought about why you had such a problem up there?
I wasn't aware I had a problem up there.
Well, pretty girl, and she like really like because God they can just like move fast and stuff like appears behind you and kind of like you feel a tingle up your spine where the stab wound is, and then she's directly back in front of you. I mean, it looks kind of like a problem to me, right?
Rude. First off, don't just go touching people's scars. Second off, perhaps it was a problem. Why are you here?
Have you ever thought of a rebrand?
What?
You are the most beautiful, the most terrible, the most chaotic, the most horrifying, and the grandest of all of the gods. You are literally the coolest person that has ever existed in the history of things that have existed. I don't think you understand. I'm an artist. You are my muse.
Okay.
What
I'm
if we teamed up?
following. Since you are aware of the problem that I have, you should also be aware that I quite literally cannot do anything other than sit here and wait.
She smiles a little bit. Do you know who my divine parentage is?
Quite frankly, I don't know who you are.
I told you I'm the million glints of diamond eyes on Snow.
Yeah, I thought that was a metaphor.
No. I literally am that.
Oh, okay.
Like when you see a rainbow, I made that, and I made it for you. So write that down. That's just it. I don't have a divine parent. I decided, that I could just do this. And a little bit of trial and error, a little bit of effort, and a whole lot of self-confidence. Here I am. I could maybe help you crawl out of this little hole you're in.
And what do you get in return?
I get to follow in the wake of the greatest creator ever. I get to paint the skies in your image. I get to make the storms more terrible, the earthquakes rumble harder, the lightning strike louder. Oh, honey, oh, sweetie, don't you see? Don't you get it? You can drown their cities, and I will make them beg you for more. You can smash their homes to bits, and I will make it so that they write songs about you. I'm a goddess, but sweetheart, you're a star. And when you bring that star down on top of them, I will make it the most beautiful thing in the world. They'll thank you for killing them. They'll be too distracted by how gorgeous the crater is left behind that they'll forget everything else. You don't need worshipers, baby. You've got me.
There is just like a stark, like you can see Preterra's jaw like clench, and she is at an inner battle with herself because she knows or feels very strongly now that she's supposed to be like reformed, quote unquote, that she is supposed to be good. She felt guilt, she felt sadness, she felt bad for what was happening. Um she felt all of these very like mortal emotions when she was cast out. She felt just like the pain that she brought other people. But also, she is being offered not only her power back, but someone who seemingly unconditionally loves her for her and shows that even when she is chaotic, she is still good, quote unquote. There's not someone behind her being like, oh my god, now you're gonna make me do so much paperwork, Preterra. Or like, oh my god, you're not supposed to kill a bunch of people, Preterra. Or like, hey, you killed my favorite muse, Preterra. Like, there's no one there doing that. Instead, it is this joy, this fascination with who she is as she is. So there is like, you can physically see her fighting herself inside, being like, I do not know what to do because I am supposed to be like redeemed, quote unquote. I am supposed to be good, but also feeling guilty sucks. I don't want to feel guilty for the rest of my life. I don't want to just sit here and do nothing. So this is sounding really good. And it's just this like inner battle that you can see she is very much fighting.
You don't need them, you know. You don't need the gods. You don't need the lucid realm. You don't need the heavens. You don't need a castle in the clouds. You don't need a stupid squid. You don't need a dumbass doing paperwork. You don't need wine, drink, mortal affections. You don't need to feel something and then hear about the consequences later. Have you ever felt something and gone down and looked? It's amazing. They have a word for it, you know. Do you know they have a word for it? When something is both beautiful and terrible at the same time? Like a giant 30-foot ocean wave taking out a massive ship just off of the shoreline. They made paintings of that, you know. They made paintings of that moment. Do you remember that one? I was there. I don't know if they let you watch, but I was there. They have a word for it. Sublime.
Sublime.
We could be sublime together.
I quite like that word. She's gonna reach out a hand to shake and make a deal.
And Nerrhythma clutches Preterra's hand, and already Preterra can feel just a little bit of that divine energy, that spark coming back in a way that she was not able to experience when she would go visit anyone up in the lucid realm during her convalescence. Like there's something there's a newness to it. Nerrhythma is not an old god. Nerrhythma is a young god, a new god. And so she's bustling with this incredible self-generating power. And you get the feeling that she will give you as much as you take.
That's dangerous. I was not expecting to come in here and start Preterra's villain arc, but here we are, starting Preterra's extreme villain arc.
I told you, Nerrhythma's really, really sinister.
I'm here for it. So Preterra, I think, is going to just try and see if this actually worked. Because there's part of her that's still skeptical. She's like, I have a fucking dagger in my back that is keeping me on this mortal realm. Can I actually do something with it? And I think it does. I think it works. I think it's slow at first, but the like constant wind that was once blowing her hair and kind of creating this very beautiful, picturesque look of Preterra has once returned. Her feet slowly levitate off of the ground, once again being held up by kind of that constant gentle wind, and she's returning to what was not only her glory, but to her beauty. Kind of this very ethereal vibe.
And Nerrhythma sort of backs off and looks at Preterra like a snooty photographer in a studio, and she's like doing like hand gestures and sort of like getting the like, okay, hold on, you stay just like that, just like that, just like that. She's doing the little square things. Okay, I've got it. Oh my god, if only you could see yourself. And like with a wave of her hand, some of the branches in the trees part, and just a single beam of sun cuts through and hits Preterra just so that there's like a glimmer around the hair.
Just gonna say, I imagined Nerrhythma like doing a little hand motion, and the sun literally like moving like an inch to the left to get it out of the way of a cloud.
Just a tiny bit, like not moving the clouds. No, she's showing off, moving the sun just a touch. That's gonna throw off eclipses in the future, and I'm pretty sure at least one poet saw that. Hold on. Ooh, oops. So anyway, I just did a portent. So that's going to be fun. Let's keep an eye on that king that caught that one while he was sun gazing. But you look so pretty. I think it was worth it. What do you think?
Like, you can just see the confidence return to Preterra, the way she held herself when she was in the lucid realm versus how she held herself as a mortal. Your words are hitting. The words are hitting, and they're hitting good to this poor sack of shit. As she recognizes with the help of this chaotic little creature, this chaotic little god, can return to not only her former glory, but perhaps even bigger and better, which is a terrifying thought to everyone except for Preterra.
And Nerrhythma, sort of admiring their handiwork, just kind of looks at you and says, so, bestie, what do you want to do now?
A great question. Wreak havoc on the mortal world? Wreak havoc on those who have sent me down here? Both, eventually?
Heavens and earth, whatever you leave in your wake, I will make it the most beautiful destruction that anyone has.
I believe this was a great start of a friendship.
I am so excited!
And I think in that moment, with that, just a huge thunderbolt, just a huge lightning bolt, and that's where the camera cuts to black.
Oh yeah, like the lightning itself like whites out the camera before it fades to black 100%.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's very fun. Thank you for listening to Patchwork. If you're here because you're hooked on Game Woven and wanted more, thank you. If you're here because it caught your eye but you're not familiar with Game Woven, hop over to @GameWoven on Twitter, find us on World Anvil, or check out the Game Woven podcast where we have tons more content just like this. A special thank you to Anna, Sanctum Cosplays on Twitter, and Rob B. Rolling @RobBRolling on Twitter. Music was provided by Zapsplat.com for free. Thank you.